So now that we've had some time to sit on it, let's talk about Kenjaku. And if you're not caught up on the manga, this is your warning to head on out. Is he truly gone? I am still so torn on this. Me personally, I would like for Kenjaku to come back because I think there's so many interesting things that could still happen with his character. But that being said, we could still potentially have some of those things via flashbacks or, just conveyed information from Sukuna or whoever, right? So again, I don't think it's necessary for him to come back, but I want him to. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in this video, what signs there may be for him to come back and kind of what mechanism there might be as well. But first and foremost, we obviously have this statement: my will be inherited. That's obviously kind of ominous, especially coming from the guy that can swap bodies, right? However, we've since gotten an answer to that, at least seemingly, in that the Tengen womb was transferred to Sukuna and the authority to start the merger was given to Sukuna by way of Megami's body, right? So, easy answer right there, right? That's what he meant by his will be inherited. Or did it? Could this have been doublespeak at all? If he was speaking duplicitously, what could he have meant? Well, first and foremost, this man literally has a body swap technique, right? That has allowed him to be functionally immortal for at least 1,000 years. So he could have meant that there is another vessel he is going to occupy, and thus his will be inherited by himself, essentially. Now, let's talk about this a little bit. Clearly, there is a brain. There's a scar on the forehead. A little bit more on that in a second. But presumably this technique works by that brain jumping in a new vessel. But we don't know anything beyond that. We don't even know if that assumption is true, because if it is, how does that even happen? Can the brain jump and move on its own somehow and just physically goes to the other body without any outside assistance? Is there a surgeon involved? Probably not, but could there be any type of outside person involved that has to assist him with the swap? We don't know. What we do know is that in chapter 249, the head wasn't just up and moving by itself. It had to be picked up by the cursed spirit manipulation that was happening, that big, grotesque thing that Tengen was in as well. So that would at least imply that the head isn't out there just jumping between bodies because it can't move on its own. Now, that doesn't mean that that's still not what has to happen, and maybe there is a third party or a surgeon or whatever. But it could also mean that no physical hop is even necessary. Maybe there is just a transference of cursed energy or some sort of ritual that has to take place, and that's how the body swap happens. But then you might be saying, well, what's with the scar then? And that's where it gets interesting, because we know that that scar is related to a binding vow. So, because Gege was asked once, I think in the fan book, why doesn't Kenjaku just heal the scar? And he says he can't because it's a binding vow. The binding vow could literally be anything, so there's not too much value in speculating on it. All of this to say is that we don't know how this technique works, so it's at least possible that he is prepped or had another body swap ready to go and he's not really done yet. And another thing that I have talked about before is that Kenjaku seemed pretty chill. He wasn't that upset that he was getting taken out, especially right before his life's work was about to come to fruition. Let's just for a minute assume that he's not gone. He is coming back. What possibly might facilitate that? To me, there's two possibilities. The first is just that there's another vessel out there that Kenjaku is going to show up in. We don't know how it works, but maybe that happens, right? Second would be something with Tengen. And if this does happen, this is more likely to me, but again, not that this will happen. But Tengen here literally looks like a womb, like a baby, right? And the cursed spirit manipulation monstrosity thing, this looks like a pregnant belly within it. So a lot of imagery there. And Kenjaku has literally been experimenting for hundreds of years with just such things. Cursed womb death paintings, whatever he did with Yuji. Clearly the man is in his bag when it comes to stuff like this. Not to mention, he's also got cursed spirit manipulation as an ability, which could be doing some weird concocting with Tengen in his belly the whole time. So all I'm saying is that it's at least possible that however his technique works, maybe he was prepping this Tengen to be his next vessel. Am I saying this is likely? No. But is it a possibility? I mean, maybe. Can Kenjaku even take over a cursed spirit? We've never seen that happen. Probably not. But would Tengen be the exception since Tengen was once human? I don't know. Last but not least, shout out to Brandon for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much, man. And all of you, please let me know your thoughts in the comments on this one, because like I said, I'm torn. I do want Kenjaku to come back, but I'm not so sure that he will. So let me know your take on it.